And welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 1044 on the East Coast and 744 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I want to get you right back into the latest here on Operation Epic Fury and everything we know about this fragile ceasefire deal between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. Now, you are taking a live look right now at the stock market where you can see it is in the green for the Dow right now and very much in the green, up 2.35% or about 1,100 points. I want to talk much more about what this means, what this signals, all of that. So let's bring in Gerson Gibbs, the senior managing partner of Bellet Capital, to discuss. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And first off, I just want to ask you about the current standing there of the market. Again, we are seeing what appears to be a very big reaction to that ceasefire announcement.
Oh, yeah, it was the markets are soaring. It was a tremendous reaction, which we expected because when the news initially launched about the war, we saw quite a dip fairly quickly. So this is just the opposite, seeing the markets react to the positive news.
And what should we expect as we see maybe the hours and the days progress here? Because, again, we're looking at a live image of the Dow. And, of course, we know that that is a very strong reaction.
Yeah, well, I see more positive reactions with regard to the market. Ultimately, there being some kind of a ceiling because, remember, we're still in discussions. We're at a ceasefire, we're at the negotiations, and we're hoping that they can come to some kind of terms that will benefit both parties. So I think that, it's positive conversation, and then moving forward, and the markets are going to continue to react positively with regard to this.
If the Strait of Hormuz is to actually open, again, Iranian officials are saying that could happen tomorrow. It could happen Friday. They've been speaking there with Reuters. If that is to happen, could that also cause an impact to the U.S. markets, or is that kind of unclear?
Well, it's going to cause an impact on the entire world. We're thinking about 500 million barrels of oil that were held back, over 200 ships that were held back. And just these ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz is going to take a lot of time. So I believe that the market is going to, of course, today it was kind of a uptick, a major uptick because of the news. But I think ultimately the increase will slow down as we determine how long this thing actually takes to get back to normal.
Of course. And this is a post right here coming in from the Associated Press. It says oil prices plunged and U.S. stock futures jumped after President Trump said that he would hold off on his threat of devastating attacks on Iran. Futures of U.S. crude oil sank 18% to around $92.60, while Brent crude oil futures fell about 6% to $103.40. What can we take away from that statement there overall?
We could just determine how much impact this war had on oil pricing, right? It was just an immediate drop. We'll possibly see prices go back into the threes at pumps very soon, as early as next week. So I think that just the overall impact, although the United States doesn't really rely on oil from the Middle East, we see just the impact on the markets and the impact around the world.
As we talk a little bit about the Strait of Hormuz and how that kind of plays a role here, what will we be watching for to see how the markets react overall to that? Going a little bit more in depth on that specifically.
Well, of course, I believe that there's going to be some kind of stability in the very near future with regard to the market, because it's still a 2-week negotiation. And we're hoping that negotiations go well, but for the last couple of weeks, it hasn't been so easy. So as you mentioned earlier, this is a fragile conversation, and we're hoping that it goes well. But I do see the market a bit more uptick and then stabilizing until these agreements are made between both parties.
And it's important to note, we're looking at the Dow here. Other markets, are they reacting overall as well, or is this just specifically the U.S. and more specifically the Dow?
I don't think it's specific to the Dow. I think this is a world problem as the Strait of Hormuz impacted the world. I think that all markets have been impacted, but it was just a direct impact on the Dow, and we're seeing it today. But all markets are impacted.
All right, Gerson Gibbs, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and helping to break it down. We obviously covered, as always, a lot of ground here, but anything that we failed to mention that you want to make sure we mention before I let you go?
Absolutely. I think that in this market, there's opportunities. As I mentioned some weeks ago, this war caused opportunities on one side where we saw prices of stocks dropping, and that was an opportunity for investors. I think this is also an opportunity to get into the market and get on top of some stocks because there's going to be some upticks, and there's positive news surrounding this for at least the next 2 weeks, and hopefully further. So it's kind of an indicator that individuals that are in the market look at their portfolios, and individuals that are not in the market possibly take a look at the market and see what opportunities are available.
Yeah, we'll be watching it very closely with your help, of course. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.